love talking to our Chinwag listeners, and we had the great pleasure of taking questions from some of you during our live recording from the Boston Armory. I'm Stephen Asma, so let's get into all things werewolves, cats, history, and I believe Bela Lugosi makes an appearance, so stay tuned for that. All right, here's your bonus wag.
I think we're going to take questions if you guys have questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, you got to come up to this microphone.
Yep. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Here comes this guy.
So, with regard to predatory behavior of cats, that is very typical what they do with their throat. I've had 12 cats in my life. And, I have an office that looks out on conservation land. And every time they see a bird or a squirrel and the window's open, that's exactly what they do.
For sure, but why are they doing it?
Because it is a noise they do before they get ready to hunt.
Just to work up to hunt? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's basically just a vocalization that they see prey.
Okay.
And, I don't know
I
about
thought you were going to come up with something way more.
Come something what?
You could lie. No, but it's really just kind of, it's almost like an involuntary thing almost. And
It's involuntary. I mean, it's part of being a feline, I mean, even like, I've seen jaguars down in Brazil. I haven't heard them vocalize like that because I haven't gotten close enough, but it's very similar.
It's super strange.
I thought it was like they were trying to trick the prey, like, hey, come on over here, there's a friend. Like,
They don't have to do that. At a distance, I mean, they're just like any other hunting cat. They basically see their prey at a distance and they take it. Now, I don't know if your cats are outdoors or not. When I had outdoors
Not
cats,
New York City, no.
Well, duh. Not here either. But when I lived in Sonoma County, my cats used to just drag birds and everything else to my doorstep because that was a tribute to me.
yeah.
Yes. No,
And by the way, there's no fucking way that Bela Lugosi played a werewolf.
Wow.
Oh.
This is really why you wanted to step up, isn't it?
That's confident.
This is why you wanted to step up, isn't it? Are you sure about that? Yeah, somebody Google it right now.
Yeah. He's
Are you
an
sure?
actor.
I could
Have
swear
at it.
Bela Lugosi. No, I couldn't be wrong.
see him as a werewolf.
Oh,
And
No, I don't either, but that doesn't mean they didn't hire him to do it.
I think he was very one-dimensional, unlike Lon Chaney.
Ooh.
well, now you're on.
You just
thin
turned the
ice.
whole room cold.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
turned everybody against you, dude. Yeah, he's an odd actor. Yeah, it's true. He's an interesting actor. But I'm almost sure. Is anybody looking this up? Yes, sir. Please.
I stand corrected. But that was probably a silent roll.
Oh, okay. To you. Okay.
Thank you for your
man.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he played a werewolf at some point. Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I'm really short.
Oh, that's right.
I hope your love of werewolves was what drove you to play Marty Wolf in Big Fat Liar.
Interesting. Interesting.
My question's really simple. Who are your favorite fictional werewolves?
Who are my favorite fictional werewolves?
Good question.
I would definitely say the Lon Chaney movie is that's preeminent with all the things. The interesting thing to me about werewolves is that there isn't as much of it. I don't feel like
Yeah, way
fictionally.
more vampires than werewolves.
There's way more vampires and zombies and things like that. There's a great book that I read a long time ago, and I can't remember the name of the guy. And it was written it's a 20th century book called The Werewolf of Paris by a guy named Guy Endore. Do you know this book? It's great.
Yes.
And I really liked that book. And he's like a sailor or something. Oh, and there's a great book. I can't remember the name. It's called Night Walker by a guy named Thomas Tessier, who is really, that's a great werewolf book, too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi
Hi.
guys. I gotta say I have OCD, so my new thing is gonna be, am I turning into a werewolf?
Are you you're going to turn into a buffalo if you have OCD.
So I was gonna say, what did you guys think of the whole kind of werewolf culture that happened after Twilight?
Well, we're old, so that's no, but I know what you're talking about.
I do remember there being a whole werewolf component to that.
Werewolves versus vampires.
Yes,
It was a
yeah.
whole
and there was a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember thinking the werewolves were pretty lame in that.
Yeah, I
they were
agree. I
kinda
agree.
lame. And I feel like werewolves often are lame now.
Yeah, I remember sort of the werewolves were kind of like the beefier guys.
Yes,
and the
they would tear their shirt off.
Yeah, and you had to
Yeah.
pick a team or something, like your team this or team that.
Edward or Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think it's funny. I don't know why people don't seem to take to werewolves as much now. And I think it's because it's too ridiculous to buy that somebody turns into an animal. Like it's easier to buy a monster that's always sort of humanoid.
I see.
So it's always a vampire or a zombie. It's always a person kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
This is a question for Mr. Giamatti. I
It's doctor, too.
Dr. Giamatti. I recently saw your movie, The Holdovers, with my
Yes.
parents, and
Filmed here.
yeah,
Filmed around here.
yeah, and I thought your character was excellent, but he's kind of like a monster at the beginning of the movie.
He's kind of like a monster at the end of the movie?
Beginning of
Oh,
the
the
movie.
beginning of the movie.
And he's like, the typical, he seems like the typical arrogant asshole
Yeah.
professor, but you kind of learn like he's kind of like the outsider.
Yeah.
But you learn like he never really left his home.
Yeah.
So I guess would you kind of equate that with like the idea of a werewolf? Like he turns himself into a monster to
He
make
just goes the other way in a funny way. It's like
Yeah,
a reverse
yeah.
werewolf, that inside he's actually more human than he appears to be outside.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
In some way, yeah. No, but he is kind of monstrous in
Yeah.
a way. You know, I mean, he's not a nice guy, but he's also kind of physically off-putting to people and stuff. And it is all that stuff we're talking about, somebody who's really marginalized like that. But I think it's actually true. You're right. He never really left home, ever, really. That's true. But yeah, like he's an inverse werewolf.
Yeah.
Hadn't thought of that. I like that. It's a werewolf picture, the holdover.
It's a werewolf. You've been in your werewolf movie already. We didn't even know.
I like the idea of calling that a werewolf movie.
But like all the characters do this, so you get to see that their humanity is missing in the beginning, and it's there at the end. Is that fair to say?
A lot of characters I play?
No, just in that movie.
Oh, yeah, characters. Yes, that's
But
true of all
actually,
the
a
people.
lot of the characters.
No,
you
that's
play.
true of all the people in it. That's
Yeah.
true. But the guy I play is the most sort of like, he's the least human in some way. Then he becomes more human. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Gonna call that a werewolf movie from
Hi.
now on.
Yeah, it looks like he did play
Hi.
a werewolf. My name is Zach, and I just wanted to say my mother used to work on the psych ward as well.
Oh.
And now she's the nursing supervisor at Rhode Island Hospital, and she hates going in on full moons. That is like a real thing.
Really? Okay.
It's so true. There's so many
real.
more admissions. I think there is some
More
merit to that.
admissions. More people actually showing up.
Yeah,
They're
a
like-
lot more. It's
very
crazy. I just
interesting.
wanted to state that. It's
Yeah.
not really a
Crazy.
question. But
Thank
yeah.
you. You made me look like I was right.
No. I didn't doubt you ever. It's fascinating. That's crazy.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. So I'm a big American Splendor fan of the film specifically, and
Nice.
I was watching. You did some of these. I think the holdovers with the popularity and everything. You did some of these like reviewing all your roles videos with Vanity Fair and GQ. They run some of those. So you described Harvey as being very animal-like. So in retrospect, do you think maybe Harvey could have had some sort of lycanthropic pathology, or was he just like a lightly feral man?
I think he had a lot of pathologies. I think he had a lot of issues, but yeah, I mean, he was simian in a way.
right,
He was
yeah.
very sort of
In the
ape-like.
movements even,
Yeah,
yeah,
and he
right, like,
sort of played it up in a way. I mean, he definitely knew it was a thing.
Right.
So he definitely would kind of play it up. But
He was a
but
pretty hirsute man too.
He was
I
also hirsute.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
also
yeah.
hirsute. Thank
Yeah,
you. That's
yeah.
good. But yeah, he was sort of. Yeah, he was kind of animal, and definitely it felt sort of animalistic playing him.
Right, but as you said, kind of playing it up almost, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
almost in like an alienating way. Like you think like it was like to ward people off a little bit. Like that was sort of
Did he kind of
like was he? Do you think he was like being sort of animal-like in a way?
off-putting?
Yeah, like
I mean, he was intentionally off-putting
Yeah,
in some
right.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was actually a very nice guy.
sweet guy. He seemed
He
like
very
a sweet guy. Yeah,
An incredibly sweet man.
Yeah, yeah.
But he definitely could turn on something.
Yeah,
that
you'd
was,
see him like on Letterman, and you're like, "Whoa, God."
Right.
Like he
No,
would
he
get
could
sort of-
definitely turn
yeah.
a thing on that
Yeah.
was really aggressive and
Sure.
really off-putting to people.
right, no, yeah.
But he was a very nice guy,
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, no. All right,
Yeah.
well, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
How you doing, Paul?
Hi.
My name is Dave Sacchetti. I got a question for you. I was doing a little bit of research today. You've done over 118 films, and I'm curious, which film did you like doing the most, and which film did you find the most challenging?
That's interesting.
Oh.
I like doing a movie called The Illusionist a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I liked doing that movie. I liked playing that part. The most challenging, I mean, I guess I did this John Adams thing that was very challenging.
Yeah.
That was like super challenging. It was just a lot of it, so it was a lot.
Is there a San Andreas?
That's a
too?
werewolf picture too, by the way. Founding father werewolf. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good evening. Now, no spoilers, but could your character in 30 coins be a werewolf?
Do people know what that is?
Yeah,
Has anybody
30
seen
coins.
that? Oh, that's good. Because I didn't know if anybody saw. Yeah, he could. He's a total sort of like werewolf.
Oh, he could
type
totally
guy.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a total like he has some. That'd be great. Is there a werewolf in that show? Is anybody
Everything
a
else is in
werewolf?
there.
Not yet.
show.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember if anybody
There's
has
a lot of demons, but I don't remember.
There's a
a
lot of
surprised
demons.
that there isn't a
lot
werewolf
of
in that.
undead because they come back.
Yeah, but there's no werewolf. That's
No, but
funny that he doesn't have a werewolf.
Could you get in there?
I could try and see. You want me to try and stick it
I
in
mean,
there?
how much? I mean, can you
so
sway
to
that?
speak? I'll talk to the guy and see if he'll make me a werewolf.
Yeah, make it
mean-
happen.
I totally will. I
it
absolutely
happen.
will.
Just make it part of the deal.
I'll do it, dude. Absolutely. You got it.
You know, no red M&Ms and
From now on,
werewolf.
I'm just. You got it, man. And I'll credit you, brother.
Thank you.
You got
Thank
it, man.
you.
Good
How
evening.
you doing?
Hi.
I'm a high school teacher, so the full moon stuff.
Really?
Puberty.
Your students like exhibit like
Wow.
they're crazier. That's fascinating.
100%. People say I look like you, and that's weird. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I'm
Yeah, no,
sorry.
I'm
No, I'm more sorry than you are. It's got to be much more of a burden for you. Nobody thinks I'm you. That's the point.
That would be worse.
but
If someone's
but I'm
like,
really
"Are you
sorry.
a high school
do kind
teacher?"
of look like me.
know?
Huh? You do sort of. You just looked offended when I said that. Easy. What's going to happen? Are we going to take a picture?
we take a
I'll
picture?
take a picture later. But we do look a little bit alike. I agree.
Yeah.
But actually, it's for you. Why I'm a Buddhist is a fantastic book and really
Oh,
changed my life.
Awesome.
Thank
And,
you.
When I
you very
found
much.
out that Mr. Giamatti was doing a podcast, I was like, meh. But then he said he was doing it with you, and I was like, ooh.
Nice.
And,
Hey, this
and then I
doesn't happen
realized that
very
you're good
often.
too.
Let's linger on this a little bit.
God's Drink Whiskey is also excellent.
Thank you. This guy's reading my books.
I bought multiple copies of them.
Very good. I appreciate that. Really,
Somebody-
that's awesome. Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, like, why do we believe in this stuff? And in history, has it been more in certain times than in other times? And has you found any research about that?
Oh, that's a good question.
What were you just talking about? Like whether
Like,
things increased. Oh,
Do
the guy.
certain kind of monster genres get higher
Well,
at
Belief in
sometimes?
this stuff, does it increase?
Example, you guys were talking about the Satan in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Well, if we go back to the movies, there's starting to become more movies about, Satan and
Yeah, there is more of that stuff now.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if, like, historically, like, was there, like,
I think there were constant panics about Satan and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, I think
But-
it was more
or-
of it then, right?
or
I mean,
pre-Christian, like, that's
pre-Christian stuff, I don't know. Were they having panics about werewolves? And it doesn't seem like it.
I mean, it's hard to know
not necessarily
about.
werewolves.
Yeah, it's hard to know about pre-Christian stuff because you don't have like a press. You
Yeah.
don't have an
Yeah.
informal media that was preserved. You only have this highfalutin kind of like metamorphosis by or the Aeneid, and so you look for the monsters in there, but you don't know exactly what was troubling people on the ground. There's some. We interviewed Mary Beard for our show for Chinwag,
Yeah.
who's a great
Roman
Roman historian.
historian, yeah.
She's awesome. We should ask her this question.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
true.
She goes and looks at like
Certainly, they were, like you said, they were really interested in monsters.
Yeah,
the
they were.
Romans. Yeah, and the grotesque
Yeah.
and sort of things that were not that deviated from
Yeah.
the normal and the human and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but
I know
don't-
that Caesar thought, Caesar Augustus thought that they would find these giant bones that were dinosaur bones, but they had no idea of dinosaurs or extinction. So Caesar thought these are sea monsters that live out in the ocean. And he, instead of putting like paintings around his palace, he put these bones. He decorated his palace with these bones.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's interesting.
I do know, like in the kind of Elizabethan era, there was a kind of like a lot of witches and stuff.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, and there's a werewolf in one of those. It's the Duchess of Malfi, I think, that play, it's a great play. I think there's a werewolf in that and
Really?
stuff. It was a guy who thinks he's a werewolf.
Oh.
And he thinks he's an animal and he's killing people and he's like a prince and he's out of control. But I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, we talk a lot about this stuff of why people believe this stuff, and I don't necessarily know why.
You know, you remind me now that Robert Burton, who writes in the 1640s The Anatomy of Melancholy, talks about lycanthropy and says it's a kind of depression. So people were very depressed in the 1640s.
With good reason, I'm sure.
It could be like, it's related to what's happening in the culture at the time. Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello?
Hi. So I used to work in a jail. I can also confirm about the full moon thing.
Oh, this is great.
Was crazy. So I'm just curious your thoughts on people. It's off topic, but people have gone missing mysteriously in the national parks.
Oh.
Like
Well, this is a thing
literally
he's into.
they're there 1 minute and completely gone the next. People will be like, there's a story of one guy that really freaked me out. He was an older gentleman hiking with his best friend. They've been hiking the same place for years. And they got to a certain point on the mountain. He said, I have to tie my shoe, whatever it was, just go ahead, like literally a minute. And his friend turned around and his partner was gone.
Wow.
There were no woods. I mean, it was flat. There were no holes, completely disappeared.
Wow.
And that freaked me out.
That's freaky.
So I'm just wondering if you had ever had conversations about that or thoughts about that.
I mean, I'm super fascinated by like mysterious disappearance. We've talked about doing a show about it. There's a guy that I'm always talking about this guy.
This guy
There's a
brings him up
famous
all the
case of
time.
a guy disappearing named Benjamin Bathurst in the 1812 or something like that. I think it was during the Napoleonic Wars, and he was some kind of diplomat. But famously, the story is he stopped at an inn to eat, and his coach. If people heard of this one, it's a famous. And he stopped his coach, and he got out, and he ate, and he was about to get back into the coach, and for some reason, he thought, for some reason, he went around to the other side of the coach, and that was the last that anybody ever saw of him. He was gone. He didn't get in the coach. It's a famous disappearance. And I love stuff like that.
I do too,
But I had heard that that's happening in national parks.
A ton, like hundreds of people go, legitimately missing, but then
Yeah,
also
I was going to say there's a lot of people busy. They're falling in
Right.
crevasses and stuff like that.
Right,
And
but
probably
then there
being
are
kidnapped and
there are
stuff
no
like that.
explanations for so many
But this
of
is
them.
like people just, boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
That's so freaky.
What,
to
what
me.
about, do people sort of theorize about predators like big cats, that kind of?
They never find any.
Okay, they never find the
They never find any
remains.
body. They never find a backpack, shoes,
Oh, that's
nothing.
creepy.
And then other
Sasquatch.
times, they've searched the area, and they'll find like shoes in the exact area they searched the
Yeah.
day before.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
How about the
really
thing
freaky.
with the people's with the feet washing up in shoes and wash? Have you
God,
followed this?
No.
It's in the Pacific Northwest mostly, right?
Yeah.
That these shoes wash up with feet in them, sneakers, mostly sneakers.
Yeah.
And
With human
there's no
feet in
real
them.
explanation for it. But there's a lot of them have washed up, and it's
And the
like,
officials are like, this happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
People are like, this happens. And then people are like, well, the sneaker design is so good now that the sneakers don't decompose, but the rest of the body does, and the foot falls off. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's crazy.
Oh my God.
You know, like, but it's a lot of them. And the people, well, a lot of people fall overboard. I'm like, that many people are falling overboard, and nobody's finding them or trying to find them? The whole thing is very odd. It's a similar thing to that.
Yeah.
I loved weird. We were talked about doing a weird
We got to do a
disappearance
show on
because
it.
I'm
yeah.
like super into like strange disappearances.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Is that it? We're
Oh.
done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chinwag is a production of Treefort Media and Touchy Feely Films, hosted and executive produced by Paul Giamatti and Stephen Asma. Executive producers for Treefort are Kelly Garner and Lisa Ammerman. Dan Carey is executive producer for Touchy Feely. Our series producer is Rachel Whitley Bernstein. Original theme music by Luke Topp, with additional music by Via Mardot. Oscar Guido is our executive in charge of production. Tom Monahan is head of audio for Treefort. Audio production supervision by Jared Brom and Matt Dyson. Editing and mixing by Jeff Neal. Animation created by Alex Sokol. Research assistance by Aidan Brooks. Lastly, for more information, go to chinwagpod.fm and find us on Instagram or TikTok at chinwagpod or on Twitter at chinwag_pod.